Tales of a Drow Part 3. A Little Death is Born. The year c. 9600. Rise of the first Drow civilizations in the Underdark beneath southern Faerun. Their constant harassment of the Vishantar forces over the next 5 centuries helped prevent their annexing Kultormer or any other lands. The Drow city of Gwuladirth is founded. The Rise of a Dark Star. By the scribe of Vishantar. A Little Death is Born. Part 1. The sun had just rose, taking the dew from the world around it, and life was everywhere. A male elf, High Elf, came over the hill to see his house. The crown wars had been raging, but where he was so far away, one could forget all about it. A young woman 20 years of age came running up smiling. "Vida, father." She was a very happy young girl and seemed to radiate her own light. The man smiled and gave her a hug. "Viduato, you as well, Teala. You have grown." He could not help notice she had grown into a beautiful young woman. Her silver hair. Her eyes that glowed a green almost. Her form both lithe and nimble, while being firm and strong. Yes, she came from good genes, he thought. She spins about so he could see her summer dress elegantly flared about. "Yes, I have." "How long are you staying for this time?" The young girl did not waste her time with things and got to the point as the two walked to the small but very nice house. He held her hand and smiled as he spoke. "I will be a month and then I go back to the borders." The girl looked to the ground at her feet. "I wish they would all die." It was plain she did not like the war, but who did? It went far deeper than his daughter knew. A short distance from the house he stopped. "Oh my dear, don't say that. Many people are making mistakes and some of us are trying to fix this. Not all the blame lays on the dark elves." He was not mean but spoke sternly. With a nod she looked at the ground. "Yes, father." She had been taught the truths of the war and Drow. The propaganda that others were fed did not reach here at this protected and hidden place. As the two turned, a female wild elf came out and covered her mouth, stunned. "Solon, you are back, my love." She ran up, hugging and giving him a kiss as the girl laughed. Eldith, the perfection of beauty. Both wild and graceful. Her mother had been called many things. Not all good due to being a wild elf. The most, however, spoke of her grace, her beauty, and her untamable fiery personality. Hugging back, he scruffed the girl's head. "Yes, Eldith, I am. I will be home for a month." The three walked into the well-kept house. The lower part, which was the living room, was full of flowering plants which gave it a wonderful smell, and the furniture was an ornate couch, 2 chairs, and a table all carved beautifully. Solon sat down on one of the chairs close to the window and looked out. As far as he could see, the grapes stretched and were lush, and surrounding that was a green and bountiful forest that stretched for miles. It was even said it was protected by an ancient druid. A month was a short time, so she spent it the best she could. Spending all her time with her father. Teala and Solon took care of and harvested the grapes, bringing them back for her mother and 2 other ladies to crush. Teala was even allowed to help from time to time, leaving her with purple feet. Solon as well taught her how to use a bow, and by the time he had to leave to go back to work she had become quite good. By her father's looks and talk she could be an archer or even better. She loved her mother, of course, but her father, she saw so little of. She knew a few things. He was a fighter. He was strong in his own way. No massive muscles, but a body that was more than capable, and for his age of 470 years old, very good shape. They spent this time as best they could. Every second was hers, unless he thought she wanted alone time. He was good about that, almost too good. In the end he was a good man, a good father, though not perfect. He had flaws, which he did not hide. Any new magic item, any new tech or spell he had to show off. had to show her how to make and use. Some seemed useless, but she loved and listened. He even had a bit of a temper, though he had only spanked her once she could remember. She loved him with all her heart. The days went on training, working. All the normal things. At the end of the day they all gathered and talked. A family. Shared laughs. Of course a month goes fast like that. Life goes fast like that. The good times seem to flitter away before we know. Solon and Teala sat on the hill overlooking the vineyard when her father after some time spoke. This sword and bow one day will be yours, you know. He looked off into the stars. I have to ask, I've been training you, teaching you. Do you want to protect what you love? He had plainly been thinking hard. You will be wanting to do your own thing soon. He paused. Yes. He laughed. As Teala paused. You don't want to say I know. You are afraid of disappointing me. You will not do such a thing. I am not a great father, I am just a father. Nothing special about me. I am no god. No greater being. No, I am no one special. I am just a man like any other. I do not want you to stay here and work the grapevines. I do not want you to become a soldier. I do not rule you, you know that. Yes. Solon paused as if waiting, and when Teala nodded he continued. Good, no man rules you, child, no person or god. You are free. Always remember that. So as for my question, you have no answer yet, I see? He paused and looked at Teala. Teala thought hard for a while before answering. I like being here, I miss you, but you come back so I see you a good bit. Life is good and happy. I cannot think of much more to do actually right now. I have thought of being a soldier to see you more, but mother does not like the idea. Solon nods. Yes, well, she did not know I was royalty, let alone a soldier, for a long time. She hates the guard, politics, and many things, but she is a good person and loves you very much. He hugged her once more. I have to leave tomorrow, I just wanted to talk is all. Let you know your path is your own, no one will make your choice for you. Teala smiled and hugged back. Yes, father, I know, and thank you. It takes a little pressure off knowing well, everything. Solon smiled back. Well, let's head to bed then. The two walked in and the door closed. Night fell and a new day comes. Solon walked out of the house and hugged Teala. I will be back in a year, I hope. Listen to your mother and take care of things. He stood and hugged Teala's mother. Eldith, keep yourselves safe. Eldith held in her tears. You just come back to us safe. That was all she could say and went back inside. With that, Teala watched her father go back to war. The next year seemed to fly by for her as the day came when her father was supposed to return. He did not, nor did he the next day. 3 weeks passed and her mother and herself waited, doing chores and the other things the estate had to have done. Wine flowed in massive barrels as always. The best wine in the elven lands. Blood, sweat and tears made this wine, and it was the pride of elven nations all over. The days passed. Finally one day a elven man, by his looks a high elf, she saw coming up her road to the house. A cart being pulled behind him. Teala ran to the house and informed her mother. Mom, a man. A high elf, I think, like father, is coming here. Her mother looked almost worried at that, though Teala did not know why at the time. Her mother had already started to where he would have to come into the farm-like home. His face was solemn, void of emotion as most high elves, and had one more with him, a young male elf around Teala's age. The two came to the estate entrance and stopped as Eldith came up to them. Good day, Lord. She paused and almost gasped as she realized. Lord Trayaman. Teala moved to her mother. Who is Trayaman? Was all she could ask. Her mother a bit more composed now. Lord Trayaman, my dear. He is a friend of your father. Lord Trayaman then cut in. I am actually here about that. His words were grave and his emotionless face shifted to that of actual sorrow. As a personal friend of the great Lord Solon. The elf paused. Plainly a great deal of pain in his eyes and face as he spoke. I am here to give you horrible news, I am afraid. A job no friend would want, but I have the task of. He got off his horse. My friend, your husband, and her father is dead. He was slain at the battle for Tarim Forge. The mother and daughter both stood silent for a few moments before her mother spoke. I thank you, Lord Trayaman, for your devotion to my late husband. May I ask how he died? Teala at this time did not care how, just her father was gone. She did not want to believe it. Make it so as not to be true. The facts, however, were before her in the cart they had brought with them. Her father's armor, sword, and bow, as well as a few other personal items he had for his provided living area. Lord Trayaman gave a nod. Yes, of course I. He paused. I was after all there, but what I saw was disturbing to say the least. Are you sure you wish to hear? He asked them both. Both agreed and Elrith gave him the okay. We were at Tarim Forge. It was supposed to be a simple guard post. Back away from the front lines by a good 10 to 15 days' travel. He sighed. They came out of the shadows. He again paused. No, they had more like become the shadows. The dark seemed to wrap around them, cloak them and everyone around them. They say the stories are of red eyes in the dark. He shivered. That is not quite true. The red, you see, they are there only before the light is sucked from the world. Then not even those red eyes can be seen in the silence. I did not even hear our men die. 1,000 men was at the forge. They used poison to paralyze some, most they killed outright. They did not even worry with many of us who had been overcome by that poison. However, at the end of the first day 30 men was left alive. Your husband was one of the last to fall before the strike had ended and the shadows had fled. He was still in combat with one. I do not know why the one lone drow stayed behind to meet him one-on-one. Maybe some of them have an odd sense of honor after all, or he just wanted to see Solon. He paused. Lord Solon suffer. I do not pretend to know what could be going on in such a demonic thing's mind. Lord Solon and this monster of a drow with wings, one black one white, he was most likely the worst. He actually gave your father a potion to heal himself before the combat and traded names and titles as was the rules in the old ways. Lord Solon fought well, trading blow for blow with that monster of a creature, but it was spawned from the abyss itself. It seemed to be testing him, speaking in some dialect I could not understand, but somehow seemed mocking and cruel. It did not even bother using its horrid control over the dark, seeming to just twist at every strike Solon landed. The attacks your husband made seemed to do little more than make the monster happy. It looked like it was having fun, I think. Here Lord Trayaman paused to get a drink from a wineskin and put it away. The memory plainly leaving some horrible scar on his mind. Their fight seemed to last for years, but I know it was but a few minutes. At the end, when that monster finally drove both its swords through Lord Soren, I knew it was over. And all I could do was lay there, my body having betrayed me, and watch. The worst was the monster's eyes. Yes, they were empty. Dead, bottomless black holes, but there was a sadness. He looks sad. Here Lord Trayaman stopped. Eldith nods and puts a hand on the now sobbing warrior. It is okay, you could not move, Trayaman. She dropped the honorifics. I thank you again for you coming here to let us know in person, that itself shows how good a friend you were to my husband. After a moment he gathers himself. As you know, your estate is and always will be yours and your family's as well. I am returning Solon's personal items. They are in the cart here. His body is being kept in the royal palace till we do the ceremony and cremation as his wishes. I will be attending, though I am sure you will be. I hope to see you both there. After his ashes will be presented to you. Eldith nods. Thank you, Trey. Amen. I am sure it took a great deal of courage to come here to tell us yourself. We of course will be there and hope to see you as well. This was when Teala could but ask a question or two. Lord Treaman, can I ask, the Dark One? She paused, nervous to ask, as if speaking his name would bring him to this very place. The Dark One, can I ask his name? You said in the old code of honor my father was challenged. That means both person's name and title were given truthfully, yes? Lord Treaman nods. Yes. I see your father taught you the old code as well. He gave a smile. Back when honor ruled a code so we could remember the opponent and show him respect. After hearing a person's name, you see, he paused. When you have a name to give the face, it stays forever in the winner's mind. You live forever with the face of the life you had taken. He again paused before continuing. Not like the faces of a war, the nameless ones that haunt any warrior who had seen combat. No, it is a memory to honor a worthy rival. He stopped then and laughed. Oh, sorry, an old man remembering things long gone. There is still a code, but nothing like that anymore. To answer your question, as a reward for listening to an old fool. His name is... End Part 3. Tales of a Drow. A Little Death is Born. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have enjoyed this narration. I will try to put a new one up every 3 days. As with each narration, I will show the main characters in each. This is Teala at the bottom corner with Ilagariake Dural in the background.